I kept getting told, you don't have any London experience or contacts, and you don't have a British accent, because I'm Canadian. And so back then, I wasn't appealing for companies to hire. So a girl needs a job, so I thought I might as well set up my own company, do some freelancing, and then hope that I'll be able to get the experience and go back into in-house work.
Hi Jen, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today. I've seen you at so many of the networking events, and now I finally get you all to myself to ask you loads of questions about growing a membership and what it's taken to get where you are today. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And yeah, you're so right that we see each other all the time, but we never get a chance to talk. So we'll get a good half an hour to chat today.
Yay! So why don't you give everyone rather than me? I always think it's nicer coming from our guest what it is that you do and kind of why we're here today.
Okay, so I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I fell into the world of entrepreneurship by accident. And the reason for that is I had lived and worked around Europe and ended up going back to the UK. And when I went to London, I couldn't find a job. I thought, I'd go back to London. I had all this international experience. And back then, this was 2002, I kept getting told, you don't have any London experience or contacts, and you don't have a British accent, because I'm Canadian. And so back then, I wasn't appealing for companies to hire. So a girl needs a job, so I thought I might as well set up my own company, do some freelancing, and then hope that I'll be able to get the experience and go back into in-house work. I did that, ended up reaching out to my contacts that I had around the world, and within 18 months had a 7-figure business. So I went from I wanted to do a bit of freelancing to having a big business that I had 15 people working for me. And I kind of fell into entrepreneurship that way. And I ended up having a business in London, a business in Brussels, in Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. So it kind of grew organically like that. So in the world of entrepreneurship,
what was that business in?
I had a PR agency, and I also had a training company that focused on communications and PR, media training, public speaking coaching, and I did that globally. So we worked kind of with very high level ministers, company executives on an international level. So, me being a foreigner in London didn't work well for the British audience, but me being the foreigner in London worked really well for the international audience. So I was able to kind of find my niche being in London.
That's just a perfect example of maximizing your personal brand and your sort of niche, in the fact of, well, you didn't fit in for the companies, but you completely, what made you different made it so much better in so many other ways, and the universe was like trying to give you that nudge. We're not helping you here because you can do something
exactly
so much bigger.
And it's funny, you don't see it at the time and you don't realize that the universe has a bigger plan, but that was exactly where I was suited. And the opportunities that it gave me, and I traveled all over the world, and I love to travel, I love to experience different cultures and countries, that it was an amazing opportunity. And actually what led me to the Middle East and the GCC region is I started doing one of the contracts that I had very early on was in Saudi Arabia, and then I expanded and more people got to know me in that region. And then in 2008 I was asked to set up my business in Dubai. And so I was like, okay, why not? So came to Dubai, set up my business initially for a year, and that was 2008, 2009, and 2022, I'm still here.
Welcome to the club. So you've put in a good decade. There's more of us now, because I say that because I'm coming up for 20 years now. So it's Dubai is definitely home, and I know that you've said that as well. As much as you love to travel, Dubai is home for you.
Do you know there's nowhere else in the world that I would want to live, and it is my home, and I've actually bought a house here. I own businesses here, and for me, Dubai is the place. And the UAE is such an incredible country to own a business in as well. I could talk forever about why this is such a great country to own a business in, but very happy here.
Let's talk about sort of one of the businesses, because you still actually have your presenting and training business. Am I right in that? Do you still have that? You still do that?
I do. So I do have that. That's my other business. But my great love is a business that I fell into in the pandemic. And that is a business called 𝗙𝗹𝗵𝗁, which I think a number of people know about. It initially started out as a Facebook group. And then in the pandemic, it was turned into a business because there was a huge need for business owners to have support. And there wasn't that support within the pandemic. So we went from having it as a Facebook group to turning it into a business, licensing it, and how we started initially with it was as a membership. So created a digital membership that had a lot of face-to-face elements for it, and we found that business owners loved to come together and to connect and speak. And now today we initially started, well, the membership launched late 2020, and today, 2 years on, we have over 700 paying members and a wider community of about 30,000 within 𝗙𝗹𝗵𝗁.
Which is amazing. I think when I first found 𝗙𝗹𝗵𝗁 and first joined it, I think there maybe was 3,000. 3,500 on it, so it's amazing to think that you're up to that 30,000. I've got so many questions that I want to ask. I've been fortunate to be I am a member of 𝗙𝗹𝗵𝗁. I've come and spoken here, but let's take it back a few years, because I think people listening, maybe some people actually have a community on Facebook, and they might be thinking, well, oh, this is great. How can I monetize this? What are some tips on kind of turning, because I think we've all got groups that we've kind of started at some point. How can we maybe repick that group up or see how it can actually be a revenue stream in some way? So what are some of the steps or tips you would recommend for that?
Yeah, it's really interesting you asked that, because me having the experience of doing this and monetizing it, I'm always looking and I'm talking to our members about this, like, oh, you could turn that into, a digital product. You could turn that into a community. You could make money off of this. And I think sometimes that if people don't know, they don't know the opportunities that exist for that. So whether you have a community of 50, a Facebook group of 50, or you have one of 50,000, there are opportunities that you can take to monetize it. But the one thing that I would say at the outset is that it's not just something where you say, oh, I'm going to have a membership and make people pay a monthly subscription and think that you don't have to do any work on it. Because having a community where people are paying you to have access to that community takes a lot of work, and you need a lot of personal investment, because people are paying for me to show up. If they're in your community, Kelly, they're paying for you to show up. So when I see people say, oh, I have this business, I spend 10 hours a week and I make 7 figures, I don't believe that, because to have a community, and everybody who I know who has very profitable communities spend a lot of time nurturing that community and supporting that community. So the first thing I would say is to first of all ask yourself the question that, are you prepared to put in the time to nurture and love and grow that community? Because they're going to need a lot of love, and especially in the beginning, they're going to need a lot of love. People want personal access to you. They want to be able to see the value.
That would be the first step. Make sure you're prepared to put in the time. And when you're talking about time, I always think it's quite, when someone wants to work with me, for example, on the personal brand, and they're like, how much time do I need to put aside? And I'm like, besides what you're doing, I would love for you to have a minimum of 5 hours to put into personal branding initiative to start getting going. What would you say to someone that's looking to build a community? How much hours over and above what they're doing for the business do you think they need to put into that when they first start out?
Oh, when they first start out, you're looking probably at a good 10 to 15 hours a week that you personally, as a business owner, would need to put in, potentially more. Depends on what you do. But then the other thing as well is that you need to put thought in the beginning about what that membership is going to look like, or what that digital product is going to look like, and what people get out of it. So you want to be very clear. And I remember when I first started with the membership, I thought it was going to be one thing, and we kind of, recorded some digital content, put it in a membership. We use Kajabi as our platform for our membership, kind of put it all in there, started selling memberships, and it wasn't that good. People joined, they were supportive and they liked the live events, but the digital product side that we had wasn't great. But you learn over time, and I say to people as well that you have to expect that you're going to have a learning curve. The first membership or the first product you put out is going to be a bit and you're going to look at it afterwards and go, I can't believe I put that out. But you learn.
I heard a quote, Jen, about that, by the way, your favorite. If your product is perfect when you put it out, you waited too long to launch it.
Absolutely. And it is with everything. And that's the other thing I would say as well, is that you need to be prepared to go to market as quickly as possible. Now, you need to have something that you can sell, but I'm a big proponent of selling before you make it. Because there is nothing worse than going and spending 6 months trying to have the perfect course or the perfect membership, and then nobody buys it. And so you want to make sure as well that you are putting something out there that your community wants.
Yeah, I really, really agree with that. I think the amount of conversations that I've had about, oh, well, I'm going to start a membership and I'm going to go and create all this first. And I'm like, sell it first and then create it. And you'll be so much more motivated to actually finish the product as well. So my very first Blandos product that I launched, I sold it before I created it.
Yeah. And, I've done the same thing as well. And I've done the same thing with some digital products that we had for Female Fusion. There's one product that we created, which is called From Idea to Trade License, which is like a 3-hour kind of masterclass, which is meant for people if they're thinking about setting up a business in the UAE, that takes you from, okay, you've got this idea, this is all the stuff you need to do before you actually get your trade license. Because it breaks my heart when I see people go and buy trade licenses, but they're not ready to trade and they're just wasting that money on the trade license.
Oh, and it's expensive, so expensive.
Absolutely. And what was really funny, we did that and I said to myself, okay, if we sell 5, I'm going to run with the course, right? And so within the first day, we sold 5. So I thought, okay, here we go. I've got to create it. And I said, I will be so happy with 10. We get 10, it's going to be amazing. And then the day of the course, we had like 38 people who had signed up for it. So I was like, okay, I guess there's demand. But if I wouldn't have done that, I would have spent so much time agonizing about what it was going to look like. And sometimes you just need to go for it and do it.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make then? That might be quite a general question, but if you think all the people that come up and speak to you at a networking event, you've got, every month you've got in-persons, coffees, masterclasses, like all sorts going on. What's a running theme that you'd just like to be, can you all just stop doing this? What would it be?
Yes. Well, I can tell you exactly what it is, because this is when I have people come up to me and they say to me, I'm not making any money. I've been doing this for a while. I'm feeling really frustrated. What I find out 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, they haven't done their research and they haven't tested it and they haven't spoken to their ideal paying client to make sure that this is something that people would pay for. And this is what really surprises me, is that they've gone and launched something, they've launched a business or they've launched a product or a service, and they haven't validated that idea first. So it could be a great idea and you could have hundreds or thousands of people who want to buy from you, but it might also be something where people don't really want that. And you could be stuck doing this, plugging away, spending money, not making money, when you could have changed it slightly and done something else. And the big mistake they make too, if they say to me, oh, I did my research, you find out that they talk to their friends or they talk to their family. And it's like, well, they're not going to buy from you. So, they're telling you with love, they're telling you what they want to hear, but you need to hear from the people who are going to buy from you.
I think that's a great tip. I think back to my experience, and I would say a couple of things on from that, because I remember asking a couple of people. I remember one person was like, that idea is never going to work. You're never going to make money. And that can be, so this was before I'd even launched it. They'd said that. And I was like, oh, well, I disagree with you. But what was quite interesting was within 6 months of starting my business, my original business plan wasn't bringing in money. So I might have been one of those people that was saying to you, my business isn't bringing in money, because my very first business 20 years ago was launching a personal shopping and styling agency. My target market was hotels. My target market was tourists. And that never took off. So after 6 months, instead of going, well, this isn't working, going, I need to pivot. This is where the audience is. It's people that actually live in this market. And then it started to take off. So I think a lot of people are also very wedded to what they started with and don't go, well, how could, so like you were saying with what you were doing, how your first business evolved and your personal brand and how you came across, people really engaged with that internationally. So it's about pivoting with what you're doing, as well as going, well, testing the market and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely. The other thing as well, and I've had this conversation with a lot of our members in the past few weeks as well, is that you need to have more than just one revenue stream as well, because it's very risky if you have just one revenue stream or you're selling to just one type of client or customer if you have that interrupted in some way. And I found that out the hard way with my business, that initially a lot of my clients were oil and gas companies. And when the price dropped in the oil and gas market, and I had clients all over the world, like they were in Africa, Asia, Middle East, Europe, North America, Australia, like everywhere. But when the oil and gas price dropped, within about a 10-day period, I had lost almost all of my contracts. And these were retainer contracts as well. And so this is where too, that you can't just be one industry. You need to look across industries, you need to look across markets, because that protects you from any sort of changes.
I think that is absolutely great advice. Something when we're talking about advice and things that we've both done, and we had a little pre-podcast chat, something that we both have in common is we heavily invest in ourselves. And I don't mean our wardrobes and shoes and clothes and what have you, but invest in our business. We invest in coaches. You've talked about, the coaches that you've had. You've got a couple of coaches. I've had multiple coaches over the years, and how much that has changed my business and my outlook. What's your thoughts on that? Because you're in with people who do that, and also some people I think who are very scared to invest even in a membership with you, let alone investing in a coach.
The biggest growth that I have seen professionally and in my business has been when I invest in myself and invest in my business. And that can be a very hard thing to get your head around sometimes, because you might think, oh, I need to be tight on cash at the moment, maybe things are a little bit slower. When I make that investment, so for example, coaching, I was saying to you that I have two business coaches. I have one which I work with kind of on mindset, because we all need somebody to talk to sometimes to just help keep us on track. And then I have another one that I work with who's more specialized in the digital membership space and kind of really helps me elevate what I'm doing for our members. And when I invest in that, the ideas that I get, the markets that I get exposed to, helps me grow the business. So I get back 10 times more, if not more, out of that investment, because it gives me the tools that I need to grow my business. So to be able to grow, we have to be able to invest. But it can be hard sometimes, especially depending upon what our relationship is with money. And I hear from women sometimes, they'll say, oh, I can't be a member of the Fusion Circle, which is the name of our membership in Female Fusion, because my business isn't making enough money. And I'm kind of like, if your business isn't making enough money, this is, the money that you need to spend every month to start making money, because this is what I see from our members. And our members are all saying to me, they're like, I'm never giving up this membership, because they go to meetups and they meet people who want to buy from them, or they meet people who refer others to them, or they meet people who provide them with support to be able to grow their business. They are exposed to new ideas. They learn new things and how they can implement it in their business. That the value that we're giving them is thousands and thousands of dirhams worth every month, even just for things like the discounts that we get as well. That the discounts are massive, like 45% off with Aramex, first 100,000 dirhams fee free with Stripe. That works out to about 4,500 dirhams a year just with that.
I'll definitely be one to say on that. We'll come back to the coaching in 1 minute. I don't say financial amounts to in any way to boast. It's not that. I just feel when you put a number on it, people can understand it. And I would say from even just one presentation that I've done to Fusion members, it's brought in excess of 20,000 US.
Right? Yeah. And it's like, it's all these things. Also, you know, like we're getting people press coverage. I've heard from some of our members, they're like, oh my God, I was on like Dubai Eye, because we have links with a lot of different media and journalists. And we constantly get contacted. Hey, do you have a business that does this? Could you connect us with someone there? And we're always trying to promote our members. And I hear from them as well. They're like, I was on the radio, and as a result of that, I got 5 clients. And you're like, see? Yeah. And we're so, like, we just want to see every female business owner succeed. And that's genuinely, like, the team and myself wake up every morning and it's like, how can we help? How can we use the collective good of what we have in the Fusion Circle to elevate all female business owners?
It's a really good way to, that just perfect part there about, I don't have enough money, but you need to invest this in order to part with something or give something to get something back. You know, I really believe that. Have you ever read Jen Shinsero's book, You Are a Badass? And do you remember she wrote in the chapter, she's like, when I spent, what was it, something like 7,000 US on a coach or something like that, $7,000 or $8,000. She said, I had never spent that much on a coach or that much investment in myself, but much like you've said, it has paid off like again and again and again and again.
And that's, you know, and we do try to make the Fusion Circle really affordable just for that reason. But, you know, it is, you have to spend on your business. But I get it as well. And, you know, the whole money side of things can be quite personal, and it can be quite challenging depending upon how we viewed money growing up, that you kind of carry that with you through life. And I realized this the other day, that I'm pretty good. I really believe on investing in myself, investing in my business, and I see the return on investment. But I've also struggled as well, where I've always had this fear of, but what if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't pay my school fees? What if I, you know, lose my house? These have all been fears of mine. And then it was actually this weekend that I realized, I was like, but I never have. You know, I've been a business owner for 20 years, and I have never had a period where I couldn't pay for those things. And I think what's interesting as well, as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you can look at it and go, right, okay, I have school fees coming up next month, and wow, maybe I'm a little bit short. So what can I create to go and make enough money to pay for school fees? And that is like the cool thing as an entrepreneur, that you can do that and say, okay, maybe I'm a bit short next month. What can I sell? What can I create? What can I promote?
One of my clients is exactly the same. She's like, at the start of the year, and she sits down with her kids and they go, right, what are the holidays we want to go on? What are the cars we want to buy? If that the year they're buying a car, what are the things that we need to do? Or I want to upgrade this, or I want to do that. And they go, right, okay, this is how much we need to make. And they go out and make it, and then they buy it. Which I thought was quite a really smart way of doing it.
Yeah, and it is. I think as well that you need to write it down, right? You need to go and say, you know, this is my goals. These are my goals. This is what I'm working towards. Because it's much easier if you have a plan that you can work towards. And this is another thing as well that we really push in the Fusion Circle, and I do this personally as well within the business, is that I set targets every single month. I track the progress every single month. I say, this is how much money we should be making in terms of turnover, in terms of profit, and set myself those goals. And if I'm not meeting that, I look at the business and go, what happened? Why didn't I meet that? What do I need to do to change that? And I'm really trying to, within the Fusion Circle, help our members think like that, because if you know what you have it's much easier to grow that. You know, as I say, you can't grow what you don't know. And so if you're able to track that and work towards it and have a plan, you're much more likely to achieve it.
So true. I remember though when I first started my business, and it's not necessarily a business tip I advocate getting yourself in debt, absolutely no way. But it was quite interesting when I started my business, and it's only, like you said before, when you look back, you can go, oh, actually, those things helped me. And when I first started, I needed to take a loan to pay for the trade. Like things have changed so much more since then. I was 24, I had no money here. So I took a loan to start my business. And the sort of the origin behind that is when I told the bank manager what the loan was for. I wasn't going to tell him I was going to use it to start a personal shopping business. I told him I was buying a car. And he said to me, what kind of car are you buying? I was like, oh, I never even knew what an expensive car cost. So I just said to him what I thought was the most expensive car and told him a Porsche. And he said to me, you've got great taste. And that was it. The funds were in my bank account the next day or within the next 2 days. But the point of the story is I had a commitment, a financial commitment, that every month I had to pay back a certain amount of money, which for someone, you know, it's different when you had kids. I didn't have kids. I didn't have any dependents. I was on my own. But what I did have was I had to make money. And this is something I see differently from people that I have mentored and supported over the years. Those that often have a sort of a comfort net or know that they don't have to repay a loan back or pay for the school fees or whatever, there's can be less of the drive. Not for everyone, but there can be that sort of less of the, oh, I've got to get up. But I knew every single day I got to pay. It was something like 3,127 dirhams, you know, that I had to pay each month. But that accountability was game changing.
You need to put it out there and you need to know, you need to have a plan that you work towards. Because if not, you're just going to be sitting there. I'm so surprised. There's certain business owners who will say to me, oh, I'm not making any money, or, you know, I don't have money to join the Fusion Circle. And every time I see them, they tell me how they're not making money. And I'm kind of like, if you're not making money, what are you doing about it? You know, like, don't sit around and tell me why you're not making money. Think about what you need to do to change that. You know, if you're not selling something, what can you add that people will want to go and buy? What are your targets that you can go and get there? And I would really love, that's kind of my big thing that I really, really want to empower more business owners to think like that, because I want everybody to have a profitable business, not just a business, but a profitable business that can be a legacy for them and their families. Not just, hey, I have a trade license. You know, we need to make money. We're not a charity. We don't go into business to not make money.
I think that's a really important point, and I actually don't think enough people talk about it, to be honest, the financial part of it. You know, oh, is it a bad thing to go, I want to make money? And I feel that goes back to what you had said about mindset. You know, people have carried these sorts of belief with them that, oh, it's bad to say that I want to go out and earn X amount each month, or I need to, or I want to. Having these open discussions about, you know, this is what, you know, I managed to bring in, this is what this costs, you know, I'm spending on a coach and it's cost me this much, and I'm investing this to go on, you know, a retreat next year. You know what? These are all things that I think people need to talk about, and they don't do enough. How do you encourage women within the Fusion Circle, because that's the members, to actually speak more then, or speak up and talk about these kind of things?
Well, I think I kind of lead by example as well, because I talk about those things that everybody knows me, that I'm not a super flashy person, and, you know, but I also believe as well that we all deserve to have a profitable business. And what's a profitable business for me might be different for you, or might be different for somebody else. And we all have different goals. But one of the first things I say to people is, how much do you want to pay yourself every month? Because that's important. And it's really interesting, because I hear wildly different views from people. I had one person say to me, I want to pay myself 200,000 dirhams a month. I was like, great. Yeah, like, that's amazing. That's going to be a rock star lifestyle. That's amazing if you want to do that. But then other people are like, I'd be really happy to pay myself 10,000 dirhams a month. But what's really important, so what's profitable for me is different for somebody else maybe, but what's important is we look at what that is and then reverse engineer it. Everything is reverse engineering, right? And you look back and what changes do I need to do? How do I need to set up my business so we're profitable? And you should never, ever, ever be ashamed to say that your business is making a profit, that you're paying yourself a salary. And if you want to buy nice clothes, amazing. If you want to have a great car, great. You know, that's whatever works for you, or if you want to invest it in your house or save it. Everybody has different priorities, but you work hard and you should be compensated for that. You should not be working for free. And when I hear women say to me, oh, I want to set up this business as a not-for-profit, I'm like, why? How are you going to live? You know, you have to be able to pay yourself, and you can still do good. You can still be a good person, do good in society, but you can still make money.
Love, love, love that. And just kind of off that point there about, do you think that then people aren't, because we talked about it a little bit before, aren't thinking big enough? I mean, maybe they are if they're saying they want to earn, 200k a month or beyond. Do you think that's something else that's holding people back in addition to their sort of financial beliefs? And if so, how can people think bigger?
So I think you're right. I think that many people don't think big enough. And there's a number of different reasons for that. And different entrepreneurs, when I speak with them, have different reasons. One of the big things, I think, is that they worry that if they think too big, that they're not going to make it and they're going to be seen as a failure. Or they don't want to be seen as bragging or showing off for having a big business. There's different people have different reasons for that. But I find that if we think big, we have a goal to work towards. And I am constantly pushing myself. Like, my business plan changes every 3 months. It's crazy because I'm constantly talking to people and listening about what they need. And I'm like, oh yeah, we could do that. We could look at this direction. We could do that. And, I'm constantly looking for opportunities to grow and scale the business. My vision is still the same. My vision is that I want to be able to help women create profitable businesses. I want us, we're very passionate about the UAE. We want the UAE to be the #1 place in the world for women-owned businesses. So when we have the league tables of the largest proportion of female-owned businesses, that the UAE is #1, and we want to play a role for that. And also as well that the UAE, and we have a lot of work to do on this, but the UAE is going to be the place where female-owned businesses get the largest amount of funding. And, all of these things we're thinking quite big, and we have big goals, and we're taking Female Fusion globally as well later this year too, because we see that's going to benefit our members as well as other female entrepreneurs around the world. So yeah, think big, because the sky is the limit. You can always change your plan, but it's important to have that vision.
Do you have a number on how many women? Some people, I have this goal, 5 people every day I want to inspire to action. So over the course of the year and the compound effect on that, have you got a number of women that you want to see in that space? Or
yeah, well, in terms of membership, because I get asked this quite a lot, like, what is your ideal number of members within Female Fusion and the Fusion Circle? For me, that's 10,000. So we're at 700 at the moment, so we have a way to go. But I see most likely probably within the next 6 months, we'll probably be at about 2,000 members, because we have quite ambitious growth plans. But what is the most important for me is that we're making a difference. So we're not just saying to people, oh, hey, we have this membership, pay us money every month, and not doing anything. Like, we are constantly looking at ways that we can add value, that the business can help others. And so what is the most rewarding for me is the constant messages that we get. And I get them every day of people saying, because of you, like, I've made so much more money that I can pay for my kids' school fees, or, you know, you've completely transformed my business because of Fusion Circle. And those sorts of stories you feel very proud about, and that's really why we're here as well. So I would say, you know, to continue to keep supporting women and seeing that we're making a difference on the ground. But every day, we don't have a specific target every day, but we do have the bigger numbers. We always look big.
And that's what we should be doing as well. So I wanted to just kind of wrap up, because you touched on that you're going global. Like, I've got a whole page of notes and questions I've been writing down here as we've gone. You touched on going global. What does that look like? Tell us a little bit more.
So what going global is going to be is we'll have a separate membership that will be Female Fusion International. And basically our membership will be available for anybody outside of the UAE to buy, and that will be access to our digital membership. And then we will be looking for ambassadors across several countries, cities around the world, who will kind of be the face of female fusion locally. We will give them our frameworks for how we organize meetups, so they'll be able to have the local networking and connections. But what we see as really important, like within female fusion, is it's the power of community. That when you get women together, we lift each other up, and we want to collectively see everybody succeed, because when we collectively succeed, everybody succeeds. And so for us to be able to have, you know, our entrepreneurs in the UAE connect with women in other countries, or for women in other countries to connect with our entrepreneurs in the UAE, can you imagine how powerful that is? Like, to know, you know, Kelly, for example, like maybe you're going somewhere and you're like, you know what, I would really love to do like my personal branding workshop in maybe Toronto. You go to Toronto for something, and you reach out to some of our members in Toronto, and they're like, yeah, Kelly, you know, we'll help you, we'll connect you, use this venue. And, you know, you go and you run your personal branding workshop there. So it's kind of like you have your supporters anywhere in the world to help you grow your business even further.
Awesome. So we've got that in the global plans, and then next year, oh, you've just actually got back from doing a bit of prep for it. You're doing a retreat, a business retreat. Is that what you would call it, in Mykonos?
Yeah, so we have a couple of business retreats coming up. I didn't tell you about the other one, but we have our big retreat is next May in Mykonos, Greece. We're having a retreat for women who are high six-figure or seven-figure US dollar business owners, because oftentimes there's not a lot of support for you as a business owner when you get to this point, and there's different challenges that you have as a seven-figure business or scaling to seven figures compared to a six-figure business. So part of it is going to be working on that within your business, coming up with a strategic plan on how you can really take your business to the next level. But the other thing is just self-care and looking after yourself, because most women who have businesses like that are not taking the time to just shut off. And sometimes when you can slow down, it gives you the opportunity to speed up, and it gives you the ideas to be able to take your business to the next level. So we have a beautiful villa overlooking the port of Mykonos, and I was there this weekend. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Beautiful food. We've got our own private chef for the week. We'll be going out sailing one day. We'll be doing some island hopping. We'll have like yoga and meditation every day on the roof of the villa overlooking the sea. Cooking classes, as well as, you know, all of the work within our business as well. So there's a lot of really nice coming together of female entrepreneurs, and we have some very interesting, fabulous female entrepreneurs that are coming on that. And then the thing I didn't tell you about is we're doing a second one in November in Fujairah for our members, because we've had so many people say, why did they get to go to Mykonos? Why can't you do something for us? So we're working on putting something together in Fujairah in early November for our businesses that are six figures or scaling to six figures and beyond.
Love it. This is so good. I've so enjoyed getting to know the internet, and I honestly feel that we're like 40 minutes in. We could keep talking and talking, because it's all stuff that I love. It's growth, it's supporting women, it's supporting other communities, it's being honest, it's being transparent in that space. So thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your story and continuing to support and bring other people together. How can people find you? Share your details.
Yeah, so they can find us on the Female Fusion website. So our website is 𝗙𝗲𝗺𝗃𝗃network.com. And what we've done as well, Kelly, for everybody who's listening to this podcast is we put together some extra entrepreneurial goodies and downloads. For example, one of the things I was talking to you about was how we need to track our numbers and track our progress. So I'm going to share with everybody our SME tracker that you'll be able to use to track the progress of you and your business. So maybe you can put it in the show notes, but it would be 𝗙𝗲𝗺𝗃𝗃network.com/Kelly. So we'll link it all back to you. So people listening just to your podcast will get extra downloads as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. See, they are continuing to support those that are listening, and whenever they get a chance to listen to this, have an awesome week. I look forward to catching up again, and we will speak obviously before the big event next year, but it would be nice to come back on the show after Mykonos and go like, this is what happened, these are the results, the power in that sort of community, and yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun taking part today.
Thanks for joining us. See you later.